Harvey?
All right.
I'm really a little bit nervous about this. I'm glad we only got one person who's online. Anyway, all right, great. Listen, y'all are here for the third obvious training session. We have 4 training sessions a year. We'll have another one coming up in the fall. So this is the third one. Where are y'all from? Anybody from out of state? Great, good to see you. And pass it on to people out of state that we now have this. Yeah, it wasn't available prior. We didn't have the ability to. Where are you from? Illinois. Did you come down here just for this? Can I make lunch? Anyway, we're glad. Well, actually, yeah, I can. I'm gonna keep it under $25, so I can get you anything good. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate you not making a big deal out of it. But anyway, everybody else here from Northwest, I'll take somebody else today with United States. Where are y'all from?
Florida, Tampa, Florida.
And Mississippi.
Okay, cool. Did y'all have anything else going on here today, or you just here just for this?
We built leads around it.
Okay, good.
Line out by 6 o'clock.
All right, well, good. Well, welcome to Montgomery. Glad that you're here. I was actually over in Jackson not too long ago at the Ethics Commission over here. Welcome to those folks. So good people working with it. Sure, anyway, thanks y'all. So anyway, first of all, let me tell you, since we do have some folks from out of state, the Ethics Commission in Alabama is set up remarkably similar to the Ethics Commissions in states where you live. We are created by statute. We were created in 1973. And the commission is actually made up of 5 individuals, each of whom serves a staggered 5-year term. The commissioners are appointed by the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker of the House. They can't replace themselves. And these are our commissioners. There's Jerry Fielding, who's a retired circuit judge from Sylacauga, Alabama, is the chairman of the Ethics Commission. We have Butch Ellis, who is a lawyer from Columbiana, Alabama. Some of you may know Mr. Ellis, but he is been practicing law for a number of years, certainly knows his business, and we're pleased to have him on the commission. Got Judge Charles Price, who's a retired circuit judge from Montgomery, Alabama, a full career on the bench. So we've got 2 retired circuit judges. Got Stuart Tankersley, who's a doctor here in Montgomery, Alabama. He's about to go to law. He is our lone non-lawyer on the commission. We've got Beverly Brady, who is a lawyer from Auburn. She has just come on, so she has got almost a full 5 years to spend with us. It's actually also awesome as I digress, and I will often do that, y'all. I'm kind of a stream of consciousness kind of person, and I will just go on and on and on, and I will meander through these things. So please just put up with it. But if I get too far off topic, just throw something at me, remind me about my topic. But I'm about to intentionally go off topic. I was actually in Tallahassee for the Florida Ethics Commission meeting a couple of weeks back. And I found out after I left that that's when they took out the Attorney General's case. Attorney General Bondi's case up here. But we certainly got an active commission there. Your chairman reminds me an awful lot of Dr. Tankersley, who's on our commission. Is it Carmucci or?
I'm not familiar.
Okay. Anyway, he does a good job. Anyway, so those are our commissioners. We have a new website, and I point this out to you because there's a lot of good information that I think will be helpful to you in your job meetings. And so come to our website and check it out fairly often. We will continually update it. We will have notices on there. And then probably the most important thing that you will want to remember about this is the filings that you have to make with our office, the quarterly filings you have to make with us. Those are available online through our website. So the public can access your quarterly filings without having to go through this. The website overall gives a lot of public access to the documents, and it really invites them into our process. So you just need to know that if you have dealt with our website in the past, we've got something new now, and that will affect you because it will enable people to scrutinize what you have done and what you have filed for getting that posted. One thing that we include on our website now, and I'll talk about the process of pre-certification. Has anybody here ever requested pre-certification from us? Do you know what pre-certification is? Anybody here not know what it is? Probably most of them. Okay, well, you have In other states, for sure, you have likely through gatherings that associations or the principals can put on for public officials or through like legislative receptions, that sort of thing. Well, our code allows you to have that type of event approved ahead of time, and that's called pre-certification. And we have pre-certified it as complying with the requirements of the Ethics Act. But we now post all of the events we have pre-certified on our website. So if you request pre-certification of an event, then the public can go to the website and they can click on your event. They can see the letter you sent us where you are setting out what you're wanting to do, and they can also see who's been invited to do it. So that's accessible from our website too. We have a frequently asked questions section, which is a lot more detailed than what we had before. And it includes some information that would be relevant to lobbies and things too. So check out the FAQ on the website. Any questions about anything I've gone over so far? All right, I'm going to get into the actual nuts and bolts of the Ethics Act. Let me point this out to you. We are able to keep track of the requests for records related to lobbying activities that are made by us, the public records request. And this is what we have gotten over the last 3 years. It's just a straight 90-degree, 45-degree angle up. And that is just the requests that have been made to view your quarterly filings. The public is interested in all this in a way that they have not been before. And I think that is probably a reflection of the fact that we're in a state that has had more ethics-related issues in the press than we have had in certainly recently, and a lot more than what has existed in some other states. So there's just a lot of public interest in who is paying for what and how much they're paying. So just know that the combination of the public interest and the accessibility through our website means that it is even more critical for you to make sure what you are filing with us is accurate. And that it answers everything that you are required to answer. And I will also tell you that if you do not make the required filings, that's a misdemeanor. It's a criminal misdemeanor. In some states, that goes through the Ethics Commission with civil penalties, but ours is a criminal statute. So make sure that you file your lobbyist filings. Vicki Manning, who you met when you came in the door, is our lobbyist liaison. This is who you need to talk to if you've got any questions at all about what is required to be disclosed, what the deadlines are, or any other question you have related to lobbying. I say this every time, but everybody uniformly, and I mean this, uniformly loves Vicki. She's not smiling right now, but smile. No, she really is helpful, and that's what she wants to do, and that's what we want to do, is help you on the front end and try. So don't be shy about calling up and asking your questions. If it involves an interpretation of the code, then what you will do is ask one or two of us to answer that question. And Vicki is the one you need to go to about. Okay. Any questions about any of that? All right, first of all, let me give you an overview of the quick overview. The Ethics Act in Alabama is drafted from the perspective of providing balance between public officials, public life, and their private life. And these are just some key points to remember. That what is contained in the Ethics Act is the freedom of the Okay, this is the minimum standard for compliance. And we certainly encourage everybody who's affected by the act to go through it. For purposes of today, nothing we say here would be protection and prosecution. This is just simply a training session and does not operate to insulate you from liability. But the act itself tries to balance these three often competing factors. One is it takes a common sense approach with it, which I just explained. We're trying to balance the interests of the public and private interests. The second thing is it's got to be reasonable in its application. The code requires us to strike the middle ground, except in a few key areas. There are some provisions that are really strict and are very much sections that tell you can't do certain things. However, on these issues about how to balance, for example, a public official's ability to earn a living outside of his or her public duty. That is one of those areas that we are duty bound to take a reasonable approach to for the purpose of keeping good people involved. And we've also got this transparency issue, which I've just disclosed to you. The things on our website are examples of how we try to achieve that transparency. Overall theme, public employer officials cannot use their official position to obtain personal gain for themselves or a family member or a business with which they or a family member is associated. Now, this business with which they're associated includes an awful lot of things. Okay, the code defines business as basically any legal entity, and a business you're associated with is any legal entity on whose board you sit or who employs you, and then you start thinking about family members that are affected by that too. It's a pretty wide group. It's a pretty large number of businesses. It's very wide in its application. That's important to you because when you deal with these public officials, realize that it's not just their public officials who you need to be concerned about. It is their family members. Giving any of these particular things I'm about to talk about to a family member also violates the law. If you are in a position where you are enabling a public official or employee to use their public position rather than a business they're associated with, that can violate public officials or activities. And this is really what I was speaking of. No lobbyist, subordinate lobbyist or principal shall offer or provide a thing of value to a public official or employee or family member. Thing of value is a defined term. It certainly includes money. But as I'll show you in a second, it can also include benefits or favors. But that prohibition extends to the public official or family member of the public official. And of course, nothing can be given to the person for influencing official action. Think standard quid pro quo here. Yes, sir.
How do you define prohibition in the statute?
Public employee is anybody who's employed at the state, county, or municipal level. Everybody. Yeah. And then public official is anybody appointed to a position at the state, county, or municipal level. And we've got an advisory opinion we issued one last week. Those are on our website, by the way. The ones that we just approved are on our website under the news section. We further defined those terms in light of kind of some funky employment situations that are out there of people who were public employees, but who were public employees by virtue of the letter of appointment. But when you take into account the definition of employee family members, it's a whole lot of people. The number we've used before is up to about 1 million people in the state who some way or another are touched by this act in some capacity. And the roughly influencing thing. Let me just get this out here. If you as a lobbyist give the spouse of a public official a gift that is otherwise prohibited, and some people do that, and I think they think that they're getting around the act by doing that, and that's an acceptable transfer. It's not. And what you're doing by giving it in that way is you're bringing in other innocent people into really what is a complicit activity to violate the act. So just remember, gifts to these family members is prohibited under the act. This is what you're directly giving it. Are there any questions about that? I think that's abundantly clear, but what I hear from over there is that kind of thing goes on. The prohibitions apply not only to your offering that they are receiving, but they are separate violations. The solicitation or the offers are both separate violations in themselves. It doesn't have to be a completed act. There doesn't actually have to be a gain or completed act. If a public official asks you, hey, I want $10,000, and you say no, that public official is still violated. If you say, hey, I want to give you $10,000, and the public official says, I'm not accepting it, that's still a violation. Okay? But the code criminalizes those two actions. Certainly, if it's accepted, then that's a violation as well. But in some states, you actually have to have actual moral sobriety to harm it's got to be completed act, but that's not the case. Any questions about that? Of course, in the code, we say de minimis items are okay. We define that as less than $25. But that's why I mentioned $25 here. They can actually solicit, the code says they can solicit something de minimis value. However, with a lobbyist cannot be solicited for anything at all considered a campaign contribution. I was told that back in the day, your lobbyist forebears wanted to include that. And that's why it was exemption. They didn't want to be solicited, so now it's not. The minimum defined as $25 or less, active at 50 in a calendar year for the service provider. This is the definition of thing value. Any gift, benefit, favor, service, gratuity, tickets, you always got to include tickets. Because there's always a history in every state of that kind of thing. Obviously, future employment, that's included in the definition of thing value too. So it's a broad category of things that are completely for being offered or accepted. But there are some exceptions to this that are all community. And these are the things that this is the area where you will spend a good bit of your time, right? Or in these exceptions. One is an educational function. The standard educational function would be like the business council annual summer meeting. It's held in a point clear all that. Educational functions got to be held in the state of all that. But it's your typical association kind of like that. Where there's an agenda, it's structured, programming that's structured around that agenda. You'll have public officials coming in and speaking, and giving them tours over a couple of days. It doesn't have to occur over a couple of days, but it does have to be a fully instead of all that structure around the agenda. But if you have one of those kind of functions, sure, if you're having a public official event, you pay for the transportation, you can cover those rooms, the meal expenses that can be covered for that kind of thing as well. A widely attended event is a gathering, dinner, reception, or other event of mutual interest, for which it is reasonably expected that 12 or more individuals with a diversity of views or interests will be present. Do any of you lobby in other states other than Alabama? Okay, the three of you. Everybody else just started in Alabama, and y'all brand new. Okay, so y'all can give me experience. So for the three of you, this kind of exception typically exists in other states too. It's generally called a widely attended gathering. It has a definition that looks similar to this. We have this number 12 in here, which makes it a little bit odd, but that was a political negotiation that got that number in there, and I won't go into the details of that. But what we have said is that a widely attended event by this definition doesn't have to occur just in the state of Alabama. It can occur in a number of places. But usually this is obviously going to be a smaller event than an educational gathering, or educational function rather, but it does have to have some informational or educational purpose. Even a purely social event can't satisfy the definition of widely attended.
So you have to have an agenda as well?
Not for a widely attended.
Okay. I just heard the educational portion, I just want to make sure that I
Yeah, if you have an agenda, it's helpful. What we have said is that there's got to be some informational purpose to it, and there's a long history behind that too. I will be blunt with you. I'm not wild about the widely attended event exception, but I can't do anything about that. I mean, that's in the code, and they're allowed. These events are allowed. But the history, the advisory opinions, the commission going back a number of years has added this informational component on top of it. So if you will go to our website, and this is another reason why you should go to the website, you can click on the letters that other lobbyists have sent us, and you can see whether we have approved them or not. So if someone is requesting a widely attended, if you want to have a widely attended event, there will be examples on the website of what other people have done. And there will be notes that we've written on it about certain requirements that have to satisfy, but it can give you some good guidance as to how to apply this if you're not familiar with what happens now. These are also areas that you can call our office and ask us for guidance on this. You don't have to memorize it all today forever, or you're going to get in trouble. We're happy to answer these questions for you if you have questions that come up about the exception. Economic development exception. We get this less frequently, but we get it some. Economic development function is defined as an economic development event geared toward achieving a specific good faith economic development goal. And so the way I view economic development exception is it has got to be a narrowly tailored event, specifically directed to a specific economic development goal. An example, you live in an area where the aerospace industry is a key economic factor in the community. And so you're gonna have an event where you are going to try to convince another company to build off that infrastructure you've already got, but you're targeting this potential industry to come. So you have an event that is targeted to achieve that specific goal. And you can articulate that. First of all, if you would construct your event so that it is that, and then you articulate it as a request, that is what we have historically recognized to be an economic development function sufficient to satisfy this exception. So if you think about what I just told you, an event could satisfy all three of these exceptions. You could be an educational function, also a library attendance event, and it could be an economic development function. If you are asking for us to approve the event, my recommendation to you is that you try to argue how it might satisfy all three of them. And the reason that I say that is that if you think about the accessibility the public has to this, where you can get into trouble, where your clients can get into trouble, certainly from a perception standpoint, is if it looks like you're not giving us all the facts, if you're being superficial in what you're giving us. If we need more information, we'll ask you for it. But I just don't think you can over-disclose in this area. If it's an education, tell us what the agenda is, give us the agenda. Tell us what the good faith economic development function is that you hope to achieve. Put it all in there, we don't mind getting that. And I think that's actually better for you. With these events, hospitality can be provided as well. Hospitality is undefined, but it has been used certainly to cover things like receptions that are in connection with these functions that might be entertainment, have some entertainment component, but they're an integral part of the overall event. Those have been recognized through hospitality. They can certainly be provided as part of these exceptions. Your spouses are included in all of it. So the public official thinks that their spouse and I'm looking for the yes, they can come to dinner too. There's a separate meal and beverage exception to the definition of thing value. Think about, I said that there's a de minimis exception to thing value. That's for any item that is less than $25. But as a lobbyist, you have a separate meal exception, which I sometimes refer to as the second de minimis. But it's 25 per meal, the limit of 150 for the year per official. And for your principal, it's 50 and 250. So just remember that that's out there too. That's another tool you've got that the code gives you to accomplish some of the things that you want to accomplish. Nobody ever really gets all fired up about those two exceptions. But I do want to at least let you know what is in there, what the easy low-hanging fruit is. So those exceptions and certainly these allowances are made here. Now, one question that may be asked is whether you can stack, whether the lobbyist and principal can stack. So if the lobbyist has a 25 per meal, principal a 50 per meal, can you get together and offer 75 per meal? And we addressed that in the advisory meeting some time ago, and you will explain that later. You cannot stack your expenditures in this exception.
Can you do it with multiple lobbyists?
Kind of pull them together. It depends on what you're wanting to do. And we've had that asked a couple of times in some events. The overall cost was going to be split between, obviously, it's really more an aggregation of the overall cost rather than stacking. We have not officially answered that question. Under certain circumstances, that might be okay, but you would need to ask separately for that, since we haven't spoken on it.
That brings up another question. As you talk about getting prior approval, do you always have to have prior approval, or you just report yourself back?
You never have to get prior approval. That is not a requirement at all. The process of pre-certification is itself a separate exception under the definition of thing value. So any event that the commission pre-certifies, the staff of the commission pre-certifies, is by definition not a thing value. So there's enormous protection that's given, frankly, for those who attend these events that have been pre-certified, because the record that we have said is falls to the exception of the thing value. What's your second question? Yes, sir.
The definition of principal, you said that the principal is $50, because in my situation, I work for a large company where I am gonna be the lobbyist myself.
Right.
I don't have a lobbyist on the ground here in the county, so how would I classify myself as the principal?
Well, you can be a principal and a lobbyist.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah. Now, my informal answer to that would be you can't stack yourself either.
Well, that's what I was wondering, I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, what you're gonna have to do is report it to one anyway.
Okay.
If your question is about the reporting, the reporting requirements that you've got, even if it's something that's pre-certified, is if you spend in excess of $250 in a 24-hour period, you have to disclose that. Or if you have a financial transaction with a public official of $500 or more, you've got to disclose that. And this is easy. It's cumulative, that's right. It's cumulative. And so if you had, think about it in terms of an educational function that is pre-certified. If you have rooms that you're paying for a public official who's speaking, and a room is $150, most rooms are going to be more than that. Certainly in the season and rooms we have, and the locations where we typically occur. But let's say $150, then you also spend $150 with combined items within a 24-hour period, so you've got $300 you can spend on that official cost in a 24-hour period. Even though the event was pre-certified, you still have to disclose that. Yeah, you have to do that. And so, and what we've started doing is each quarter after your filings are done, we go back through the pre-certifications. And so if we pre-certify an educational function for you, we're providing hotel rooms and meals and all of this, we'll go back and say, look at your filing. And we'll say, hey, you didn't disclose in excess of 250, and you may not have expended more than 250, but this is a heads up. This event looks like it might have triggered that, so make sure you have fully disclosed. If you have fully disclosed, nothing further is required, but if there is an additional disclosure, it has to be made for the So we've been going back and looking at, don't count on us to catch that for you, but as part of our enforcement responsibility, we've started doing it. So no, you never have to request pre-certification, but you still have to disclose. Any other questions about that? What we've been talking about is the pre-certification process. It's not hard to satisfy this process. You have to send us a letter. You've got to send it to us at least 10 days ahead of the event. That's by administrative rule. And you have to set out within the letter how this event satisfies the exception. Now, if you don't tell us something in the letter, just know that all that we're pre-certifying is what you presented to us. So if you add on other stuff, that's not covered by the pre-certification. If you operate outside of the restrictions that you've set up in the letter, then that's not covered by the pre-certification. Any questions about that? You can fax it to us, you can email it to us. I mean, not fax it. Email it to us, or mail it to us. But it's got to be in writing, and it's got to be 10 days ahead of time. If you send it to us at 11:59 p.m. On the day that they start running, it will count. So as long as we receive it in our office at least 10 days ahead of time, then you're good for us. But if you get it 9 days ahead of time, you're going to be told it's denied because we received it on less than 10 days notice. If we deny pre-certification, it doesn't mean you can't have the event. It just simply means that you're having it without our pre-certification. Yes, ma'am.
Is that business day?
That's calendar based. Yeah, not business day. Any questions about that? Most people figure about that. When we instituted this a couple of years ago, it caught some people, but most people comply with this. The earlier you can get it through, the better. Because if we have questions about what you're doing, it gives us plenty of time to respond to you and get the feedback. So earlier rather than later is what we should do. Advice opinion process. If you got a question about whether something is or is not a violation of the act, you can ask our opinion on that. And we've got two methods of giving advice. One is our informal opinion method, and the other is our formal opinion method. The informal opinion method is just what I said. It's informal. It's the staff's answer to your question based on established formal opinions, but it gives you no legal protection. A formal advisory opinion, on the other hand, is provided by statute to give you legal protection, limited legal protection from prosecution. So, if you have a question that, for example, is something we haven't answered before. An example, I am both a lobbyist and a principal, and I staff myself. That's something that we pretty much answered. It's a good example since you brought it up. That would be a question that's not clearly answered in the language of the code. It requires us to interpret it, look at prior formal advisory opinion, see how we've moved on it in the past. That would be a great kind of question to ask on formal advisory opinion. Because once we give the answer, once you rely on that, within the four corners of the document that we gave you, then you're protected by statute from prosecution. So if you were to stack, we said you couldn't form an advisory opinion, and somebody would complain about it, you would say, oh, I got a formal advisory opinion on this, so I can do that. Formal advisory opinions are public records, and they are voted on by our commissioners in a public meeting. So the public knows when we do this, and we put it on our website, so that, all the world will know that you asked a question. That is actually one of the good things about criminal advisory. It also serves to answer the question to those who are in a similar situation to the question that you asked, so that they would know that we were answering that question in the past as well. Now, because the formal advisory opinions are voted on every 60 days by our commissioners, because we only meet every 60 days, often the requester just simply doesn't have that much time to wait on the answer. And a lot of the questions that we get just simply don't have to be answered by formal advisory opinion. Like the question you asked, is the process of pre-certification mandatory? It's a great informal opinion question. No pre-certification is mandatory if you ask. It's something you're allowed to ask for if you want. That same token, remember, we're talking about pre-certification. We're under no obligation to pre-certify simply because you asked for it, or even because it satisfies the definition in the code. That is a permissive act on our part, and although we generally will either tell you yes or no, there have been some that for whatever reason we didn't want to pre-certify. Not very many, but there have been a few. So you don't have a right to get something pre-certified, just as you don't have an obligation to ask. Our advice can only be prospective. You can't call us up, write us, and ask if something you did in the past violated or did not violate the act. We can't bless prior contract. We can only act prospectively. All requests have to be in writing. Complaint process and getting down to the end of my time very quickly. As I said, the Alabama Ethics Act is a criminal statute. Violations of our act, intentional violations, are Class B felonies, punishable by a minimum sentence of 2 years, upon conviction a maximum of 20, and a fine of up to $20,000 per violation. All other violations under the Act are Class A misdemeanors, punishable by up to a year and fines of $6,000 per violation. Any questions about that? We can resolve some complaints through what's called the administrative resolution process, but that is reserved for minor violations, which are defined as those that result in less than $250 gain to the public official or public employee, or less than $250 loss to the public entity. You can only impose those if the Attorney General's office or the district attorney review act occurred, consent with that. And we can fine them a maximum of $1,000 for that violation. Any questions about that punishment?
I'm sorry, the complaint can be filed against either the lobbyist or the public official.
Yeah, it depends on what the violation was. Let's just say that somebody alleged that you had improperly offered a thing of value to a public official. Yes, it can be filed against you. You file against you and or let's just say that you didn't file your quarterly filing as you were required to. The complaint would be loss of insurance on that. Or somebody were offered that you had offered money, or was alleged that you had offered money to work in official action. That can be against you as well. Now, once a complaint is filed with this, it's got to be based on credible and verifiable information. It can't be filed anonymously against you. But once it's filed with us, we've got 180 days to resolve that under the jurisdiction of the complaint. Now, we can ask our commissioners to approve a one-time extension of 180 days. So potentially a complaint against you filed with us is intended for 360 days. The other important thing to remember is that we don't have exclusive jurisdiction over this act. So a DA or the Attorney General's office can independently prosecute me, whether we consider it or not. Or even if we have found that there is no probable cause for the violation, they can still independently prosecute me. For intentional violations of our act, they are governed by a 4-year statute of limitations, misdemeanors are 2 years. Any questions about any of that? And we are a probable cause board, so what our commission does is weighs the evidence and determines whether there's probable cause for a violation of the act. If they find there's probable cause, then we refer it to prosecution to the Attorney General of the DA. That makes sense? We do have 4 investigators, all of them certified. We have subpoena power. We are a law enforcement agency.
So you do execute powers, don't you see?
We do. We use a lot of them. I mean, that is something that's actively used by this office. Now I'll turn it over to Evan's General Counsel. As he's coming up here, I'll also point out in the back of the room in the black sweater is our Assistant General Counsel, Cynthia Ralston. She has just come with our office. She's been here a couple of months now. She was with the Jefferson County, Alabama Attorney's Office, where she headed up the public integrity unit, 14-year career prosecutor. She has been with us, so that's who the lady sitting in the back is. So now I'll turn it over to you, and I'll come back up in a few minutes if you have any questions, but we shall have asked them.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over some of the advisory opinions that we rendered since the new law went into effect. And for those of y'all here, all these opinions are available on the website. You've got that green book, our website on the inside cover. Those of you that are not here, it's www.ethics.alabama.gov. The last major rewrite we had of the ethics law was in 2010. Most of the changes had to do with what Tom just went over. What is a family value? What is not a family value? Set out all these new applications. Previously, we had 6 exceptions to the definition of family value. We ended up with 18 exceptions. So the majority of the initial opinions we did coming out of the chute of this had to do with what is permissible and what is not permissible. And that's mostly going to be what I'm going over. One of the first advisory opinions we did in the 2010 special session, they included for the first time executive branch lobbying. The question was asked basically, what is executive branch lobbying? It's making a sales call on a legislative or executive branch office. Is that considered executive branch lobbying? Does that mean our salespeople have to register? The opinion that we drafted stated that individuals and entities that engage in sales activities with the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of state government in the ordinary course of conducting their business are not considered to be lobbying when such activities are solely related to the sale of goods and services as part of their normal job responsibilities. So if you have people working with you or for you, their normal job responsibilities are making sales calls, selling computers, whatever, that is not lobbying. Here's where the lobbying comes in. A lot of times you have an out-of-state company that wants to do business in Alabama, wants to get a contract in Alabama, they hire somebody here local to open doors, make introductions. That is where the executive branch lobbying is triggered. The commission went on in that opinion to state that individuals and entities hired by a company seeking a contract for the sale of goods or services they're hired solely for the purpose of influencing an official decision by the executive, legislative, or judicial agency of state government are considered to be lobbying and must register. That's advisory opinion number 2011-02. That is the only one we have done in the last 7 years dealing with executive branch lobbying. Now, the next 3 or 4, I'm going to go over there. They're all similar questions. We have this group, we have these meetings where we invite public officials and public employees. What can we offer to them? What can they accept? So I'm just go over and hit some of the highlights. The first one is 2011-11, and I encourage you to go to the website and pull these opinions. For example, this one that I'm just going to read some head notes from is about 15 pages long, so there's a lot of dicta in these opinions that might help. The first one had to do, it's from the Council of Engineering Companies. They were asking various questions about soliciting for charitable organizations, who can be solicited, who can't be solicited, who can contribute, that type of thing. The commission said that lobbyists and principals may contribute to any charitable or nonprofit organization that they so desire, regardless of whether or not public officials or public employees are associated with that organization or serve on its board. It goes on to say that a public official or public employee may not solicit a lobby to contribute to a charitable or nonprofit organization. As Tom went over with you, and we stress this point, a lobbyist can't be solicited for anything other than campaign contribution. The question is asked frequently, I'm affiliated with this charitable organization, I'm an elected official, they would like for me to write a letter asking for help advertising our charity. What can we do? In 2011, what the commission said was that public officials and public employees may, on behalf of a charitable organization, sign a solicitation letter, provided the solicitation letter is generic and is done in such a manner that individuals or entities receiving the solicitation do not feel obligated to contribute. The sub-question to that is, can we send that to lobbyists? Again, the answer is no. Before you send the letter out, it has to be properly vetted to make sure no lobbyists are getting that letter. Or it should include some type of disclaimer stating something to the effect of, if you're a lobbyist and you receive this letter, you received it there, please disregard it. This opinion likewise goes on to state that public officials and public employees may, not even on behalf of a charitable organization, solicit anything other than a campaign contribution from a lobbyist. I think this was the first opinion that we did relating to the stacking issue, and we repeated it several times. This one states that lobbyists and principals may not stack their expenditures and get around the $25, $50 limitation, regardless of whether or not they're lobbying on the same issue. This opinion also pointed out that sporting and recreational events that are not an integral part of an educational function or a widely attended event, but are standalone events, are no longer permissible under the Alabama Ethics Law. Under the old ethics law, what you could accept is pretty wide open. It could be social, sporting, recreational events. The only qualifiers were it had to take place in the continental United States or Alaska, and if they expended more than $250 on you and your family in a calendar day, it had to be reported. As of January 1, 2011, standalone sporting and recreational events, tickets for those events are no longer acceptable. They have to be a part of an overall event. What that means is if you're having, let's say, a 3-day conference, widely attended event, educational function, you meet one day, the second day you meet in the morning, that afternoon you give the individuals an opportunity to play golf, you come back the third day for more meetings. That would be permissible under those circumstances as it is an integral part of the overall event. This is advisory opinion 2011-09, and sir, this is related to your question. The first thing it says is, there is nothing in the revised ethics law which prohibits an individual from simultaneously serving as both lobbyist and principal. 2011-09, you may want to pull it up and refer it. It says, and may not stand expenditures. Now, one problem we had when the new law first went into effect was that de minimis standard. We got the de minimis standard, but we did not get a definition for de minimis. So we had some problems working through that until the next regular session, where de minimis was defined as $25 or less. This opinion stated that public officials and public employees may receive promotional items created for presentation, or other items of tremendous value, but the Ethics Commission could not arbitrarily assign a value to what is and what is not tremendous. This is another opinion that is very, I don't think this one is closer to 20 pages. This sets out some parameters for what is a work session. The Commission defined a work session as an event where a group of public officials and public employees are gathered together in their official capacity to further the public's interests. The question has come up several times, what can be provided in the way of meals, hospitality, that type of thing during a work session? The Commission said that the only hospitality that may be provided at a work session is food and beverages. Food and beverages may be provided to allow the work being conducted to continue, thereby furthering the public's interest. Hospitality in the form of social or sporting events may not be provided at a work session, as these activities change the dynamics of the meeting from a work session to a purely social occasion. So depending on the circumstances, a group can bring in sandwich trays for a work session, that type of thing. That's the extent of what can be provided. Now, another question that has come up repeatedly over the years is charitable events. Can public officials and public employees participate in charitable events? Now, they cannot participate in purely social and recreational events unless they pay for it themselves. As relates to charitable events, the Commission has said public officials and public employees may participate in charitable events such as golf tournaments, provided there is an educational or informational component to the event. Now, whether that is explaining the purpose of the charity, this is how much money we raised last year, this is who benefits. Because of the definition of a lively clinical event, as Tom went over with you, the Commission said there has to be some type of educational or informational purpose. Otherwise, there would be no need for you to have a diversity of views and opinions present. Let's see. This is advisory opinion 2014-05, and it has to do with solicitations. What we have here is an Alabama Department of Transportation employee who served as a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers. They had several events during the year, of course, they wanted to solicit. The opinion stated that an Alabama employee serving as a representative of ASCE may not solicit subordinates, entities they audit, inspect, or regulate, or vendors doing business with their entity for a contribution, regardless of the purpose of the solicitation. And once again, we took the opportunity to point out that this person could not solicit anything other than a campaign contribution for a lobbyist, from a lobbyist. We had a question back about this time last year from a nonprofit organization who contacted us, asked us, is what we're going to be doing lobbying. They were going to be contracting to assist the state in drafting legislation providing consulting on that legislation, developing plans, procedures for compliance, implications, that type of thing. So the question they asked is, are we lobbying? The opinion is drafted, stated that a nonprofit organization contracted to assist the state in implementing a Senate bill who will be providing technical assistance in drafting legislation, developing administrative policies, developing plans, etc., is not required to register as a lobbyist in the state, not required to take required lobbyist training, file a lobbyist report, etc., as they are not attempting to influence the enactment or defeat of a specific piece of legislation or rule before a legislative or regulatory body. This one was one we did back last fall. It's Advisory Opinion 2016-27. This one I think will be of interest to you. Very frequently in the lobbying government world, we have public employees, public officials who want to leave the public sector, go to work in the private sector. You have principals or lobbyists who may have contact with a public official who want to recruit them to come to work for their business. Because of the prohibition against offering or accepting the thing of value, what are the guidelines? This opinion we set out, and I really suggest you pull this one and look at it. It sets out, I think it has 10 different examples of things you need to look for in that circumstance if you're trying to hire a state employee. Are you hiring them because of their prior work experience, their educational background? Do they have special training that adapts them or makes them very suitable for this position? Are they being offered the same or similar salary to somebody else that would be applying for the job? The opinion is drafted, and again, those are 10, not a checklist, but it's 10 things. It's not all inclusive, but it's 10 things they should be looked at and considered. The opinion stated that a public official or public employee may not solicit a lobbyist for a job or a job interview while employed with the state of Alabama under the provisions of Section 36-25-23C. A public official or public employee may discuss, apply for, interview, negotiate, and accept a job with a principal while still employed with the state, but only if those discussions took place within the parameters articulated herein. Those are the 10 things I was mentioning, and under circumstances which make it clear that the job offer is being made for reasons unrelated to the recipient's public service as a public official or public employee. So the long and short of that is, it's not totally off limits, but you do have to be very careful, and you do have to follow specific guidelines if you're going to do that. Again, that's 2016-27. The last one, I want to hit on briefly. This is one that the Alabama Power Company asked us for. They get asked for a lot of charitable contributions or donations from various organizations. Their concern was, do we have to do the due diligence to make sure this is not an improper solicitation? And we said no. We said Alabama Power, when donating to charities, is not required to investigate whether a person seeking a donation is a public official or employee or a family member, and if they are, whether such individuals are compensated or receiving personal gain from the charity. We did point out that, however, the Alabama Power Company cannot ignore actual knowledge of personal gain or other factors that would cause their donation to violate the Act. That's Advisory Opinion 2016-29, which came out last December. Real briefly, this is going back a little bit. This is 2011-01. This is the first opinion that we did after the new law went into effect. And again, I would suggest you pull it and look at it. It's just another pretty extensive advisory opinion and covered a lot of territory. The opinion said county officials and employees may attend receptions, breaks, bill functions, etc., or other events sponsored by participating companies or held in conjunction with or as part of an official conference, such as a widely attended event, educational function, or economic development function related to the work of the county commissioners and their employees. Let me see. One question that it still comes up from time to time, you may have 3 days where you have certain sponsors, you have certain vendors, you have certain companies participating in the event. The question was, can we take clients out after the day's activities are concluded? We're participating in the event, we're going to be there the whole 3 days or whatever it is, can we take them out to dinner? This opinion stated that following the conclusion of the day's official conference activities, county officials and employees may interact with representatives of sponsoring companies or those companies which participate in the conference and may have funds expended for meals and other food and beverages, excluding hospitality, when that evening meal is directly related to the conference. Provided, however, that the meal is not used as an opportunity to either influence official action or as a sales opportunity. So it has to still be tied back to that overall event. It has to be another entity that's participating in the conference. They can take you out, or in this case, y'all can take them out after the day's event, provided y'all are also participating in the conference.
Yeah, and let me clarify that a little bit. There's been some modification of our approach to this a little bit over the last couple of years. That statement that he made about after the conclusion of the day's event, that doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. How most people approach that is they separately qualify whatever they're going to do as a separate widely attended event. In other words, it's at least 12 people. It's not a one-on-one kind of situation. And really what I was getting, I couldn't even catch it all. Are you through?
I'm through.
Okay. Keep these things in mind. And this is kind of wrapping up kind of where we are. And let me just tell y'all, you deserve an award. The lighting in this room and hearing about the subject matter, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the fact that any eyes are open here is a miracle for me. Thank you. But let me just tell you that kind of wrapping all of this up, just remember these things. You would expect me to say this, but I really mean it in all sincerity. Please be the ones who do not get close to the line. Stay far back from the line. How you can do that is by asking us early on for guidance on whether something is an educational function, whether it's an event, whether it's an economic development function. Ask us those questions and then listen to what we say about that. As Hugh pointed out, there are allowances under the Act. There are things you can do, and there are things that you cannot do. But y'all all got competitors out there, and the competitors will call, the competitors can file complaints, and it happens. Just heads up, I don't mean to be getting into an area that may be outside of my lane, but I will tell you, it can get nasty out there. And we get calls all the time from people who say, has so-and-so registered as a lobbyist? Have they gotten any opinions saying they can do this, that, or the other? Have they pre-certified their event? Why did you pre-certify their event? I mean, they're watching what you're doing. So just heads up, also you're safe if you stay far back from the line. If you've got a question, remember you can ask either through an informal opinion or a formal opinion. And if you have a kind of question that doesn't lend itself to an informal opinion, we will tell you that. I suspect most of the questions you ask are going to be informal opinion. You're just going to kind of want to know what you got to do and what the general guidelines are. And we give that advice out a lot. So don't be shy about asking those questions. When you want something pre-certified, remember the 10-day rule. Because your clients will get mad if we don't pre-certify it because you didn't ask in enough time. So ask us well ahead of time so that we can consider it. Remember that if who you are lobbying for changes, you have to let us know that, and you have to do it within 10 days. You have to notify Vicki. You have to update your listing with us. Remember that the public can see who you're lobbying for. All your forms are online. All your registration is online as well. Let me see, and I guess that's about it. And file your forms. Read them. Don't turn this over to someone else to do for you. Do them yourself. Read it and answer the questions correctly, because people will follow up on this, and it's probably going to be us who's going to follow up on this. But if you disclose something and it's just wrong, somebody else may catch it. But you're on the hook if somebody you've directed has filled this thing out properly for you. So take care of your business, and know this as a parting kind of word. We really are here to help you maneuver through this. It is not our desire for any of you to violate the act. We don't get any bonus for that. It is not something we look to do. We want you to stay out of trouble. And so ask us the questions ahead of time, and we will help you define the parameters there. Does anybody have any questions at all before we get out of here? Yes, ma'am.
What about your own family relationships? I have family members who are public employees.
Right?
If I give my niece $1,000 for her college, or I show up at the family barbecue with $51 worth of steaks.
Yeah, everybody's screwed. No, I'm kidding. No, there's an exception. There's a specific exception in the code for family relationships.
Okay, I just haven't read that part yet.
Yeah, but it's in there.
Okay.
I mean, exchanges between families are certainly allowed. Now, I've got to say this because you asked the question. Just because you consider them, quote, family, doesn't mean that they would be family in the code. If you're talking about your niece, if you're talking about your nephew, you're talking about your daughter, mom and daddy, and clearly that's family you're talking about. But if it's somebody that you love just like their family, then that's not going to satisfy it. And there are a couple of exceptions like that. There's a friendship exception in the code too. There's an allowance for gifts between friends. The characteristics that the code gives for that is that the friendship pre-existed the relationship of a public official and lobbyist. It's an incredibly fact-driven exception as well. My recommendation is that certainly on the friendship exception that you not rely just on that. That you have another exception that kind of buffets it. I wouldn't want to just have to prove to 12 jurors that this person was the kind of friend anticipated under the act. But yes, you should go to your niece's graduation. You really should, and you should give them a gift and not feel bad about it. Okay. Now, that being said, you can't give that niece anything to corruptly influence her official action. Okay, let's just say that your niece is the governor of Alabama, and you're giving a gift, and she's your niece, but there's a quid pro quo going on. I mean, family members can conspire to violate the act as well. So there are variations of these of the facts that could render any of these exceptions, not truly the exceptions that should apply. I suspect you would have figured that out anyway. Right? Any other questions about that? And look, and it's the kind of thing that you should not be terrified about your interaction with public officials and public employees. But when you are exchanging something, or whether you're offering something, where they're asking for something, those are the situations where the Ethics Act is probably going to be implicated somewhere in that. Okay? And so if they're asking you for something, there's probably a reason for that. And that goes on too. And as I tell them, if a lobbyist is offering you something, it may be because they think that you're a wonderful person, but it's probably not. It probably isn't. So that's certainly the approach that you and they should take. Any other questions? Going once, going twice, and that's it. All right, listen, thank you all so much. Remember, Vicki Manning is your person to go to. Remember that you can come to us as well. Thank you for your attention today, and we're here to help you, so just ask. Thank you.